Oh, Randall Wallace, a writer he were. He searched for the project to be director. Now he has found it with lots on his mind. A famous old book, the challenge he took, and left safety behind. On the way to the glory, he'll honor thy sword to serve right ideals and justice for all. Finally released, this flick made some dough. I think you should thank the two Leos you know. Thanks to the girls, moms and the bride. Once they saw the king and his bro, they turned into a water slide. For Leo, for the burns, for the irons, for the Parge and for Malkovich, for their star power and a filled French white wine cast, I will review this flick, Iron Mask. Right, before we begin, we're just gonna have a cinema memory. So, I actually won a contest to see this movie before it actually opened in Sweden. This came out just a few months after Titanic had the premiere, so the demands for Leonardo DiCaprio was high. When Leonardo DiCaprio first showed up on screen, there was I would say maybe 6, 7, maybe 8 girls in front of me who went "Ah!" But when that happened, I heard a man with a loud bass voice yelling there, "Shut up or I will fucking kill you." There wasn't, you'd hear a pin drop after that. I think that was pretty damn funny. It is France 1662. Louis XIV is the king of France, and he isn't a very good king. He doesn't really care about his subjects. He is a vain and, a pretty evil king who, doesn't care that these people are suffering or starving and, just wants to score ass and, be a bit evil. I also think that he killed Hugh Laurie, aka Dr. House, who plays one of his advisors for, distributing rotten fruit, which by the way was King Louis XIV's idea from the start. Because I think we don't see him again, I think so. Well, off with his head, I guess. At the same time as this happening, we have the Four Musketeers, of course. And they have gone all their separate ways in recent years. The only man who, still hasn't hung up his sword is D'Artagnan, who is the bodyguard of the king and also is, captain of the guards and played by Gabriel Byrne. He also is one of the few who still, really supports the king and thinks that he can do better. He can be a good king. You'll just wait and see. The other members of the Musketeers are, of course, Porthos, played by Gerard Depardieu, who is a walking midlife crisis, who feels that he isn't, he can't go anymore. He is impotent. It hurts when he pisses. It hurts when he shits and stuff like that. And he is a bit miserable, but still wants, to live life as he did when he was young. Aramis, played by Jeremy Irons, has become a priest and is, this holy guy who, is sort of a do-gooder and, is, doing stuff like that. And Athos, played by John Malkovich, as the most articulate man you've ever heard. I don't think there is a single solitary letter that is left out of his, when he speaks. I would like to see the manager, please. He would say, basically. He's a walking life crisis instead, and he gets absolutely ruined when his son Raoul, in a game of the king is going to steal your girlfriend, is killed in battle. And he just becomes, very, very upset, and he vows revenge to kill the king. But Aramis has other plans, because there is, of course, the man with the iron mask. He is, hidden away in a dungeon. No one has seen his face, but Aramis knows that he is a copy of the king. He's the king's brother, his twin brother. So their idea is they break into the prison, rescues him, and then try to replace the evil king with this king, which hopefully will be a good king. So D'Artagnan, of course, doesn't want anything with this operation at all. He doesn't really know about it, but he knows that they're going to do something. So is this going to be infighting amongst the musketeers? Why is D'Artagnan so protective of the king? What kind of motives does he have? And are they going to successfully pull off this stunt? Just wait and see. I really wanted to love this movie. Some of my favorite actors are in this movie. Malkovich, Jair Irons, Depardieu, DiCaprio. Hugh Laurie is also here, and he's kind of fun. And Randall Wallace was riding high on the success of Braveheart, so the movie's gotta be good, right? Well, there are problems with this movie, and the problems start coming almost immediately. One problem this movie has is that Randall Wallace should not have been, the writer, the director, the producer, the everything he is basically. He probably should have had, somebody more experienced than him to direct this one. As a directorial debut, it's totally fine, but considering what it could have been, I don't know. Because we have a lot of plot and a lot of runtime, but very little seems to happen, for a considerable amount of time. It's a shame because we have so many good actors and we have great production value, actual castles, impressive sets, good wardrobe, all that stuff. It looks really great. The movie also suffers from being a little bit boring. This is especially true when it comes to the, middle of the movie, where they go, teach the king stuff, which basically is it's a montage. It's a montage. Even Rocky had a montage, where apparently Gerard Depardieu is teaching Leonardo DiCaprio to wave his arms to do stuff. Oh, let's talk for a second about Leonardo DiCaprio. Watching Leonardo DiCaprio here in 1998 and watching him, today, it is, worlds apart. He did a couple of pretty okay, performances in the 90s, but his 90s run was not very good. And here he's pulling double duty, and I'm sad to say it, but he basically sucks in both of his intonations of the Sun King. Either you have this egotistical maniac who's basically trying to channel his inner King Joffrey before King Joffrey was, a thing, and his inner Jordan Belfort because before Jordan Belfort was a thing, and he's just this stereotypical villain that is evil but doesn't really seem to like being evil. He doesn't, have the commitment to it. Or as the good, brother who has been, kept in this prison for all this time, he's just a bland do-gooder with no, distinguishable characteristics except for he's the good guy. You should like him. So the movie has a lot of problems, but I would say that the finish is probably one of the biggest, because it's really dumb, it's really clunky, and also it is basically the 90s version of shaky cam, because holy heckins is the fencing sequence is bad. They look chopped up as hell, and I don't know if it is ill choreographed or if the actors didn't, get the fencing thing really going. And also it should be mentioned that this is not a fun time, glorious matinee adventure, and it is also neither a brooding and fascinating costume drama. It's a bit of a mixture, and it doesn't commit to either of them. That's a shame, and because In some parts it is too grim to be, you know, entertaining, and in some case it's too entertaining and funny and, you know, hokey to really have an impact. I will say though that Porthos' attempt at a suicide is pretty damn funny, for realsies. In the end, I would say that The Man in the Iron Mask is not a bad movie at all. It's a perfectly okay movie, but considering what this cost, this budget, and the story of the man behind the mask could have done, dude, you could have made one of the most awesome movies of 1998. And yet, this is another one of these weird failures that was the entirety of the weird year of 1998. I don't know how closely this one follows the actual source material, but I do know that I like the 70s version with Richard Chamberlain a lot more than this one. So we have a fantastic cast, we have great characters, and we have a, you know, big sea of intrigues we can, you know, scoop up from, but the movie really fails to make the impact it should have made. I'm however giving this movie 42 points. It's a well-made movie, it has good production value, it has pretty good chemistry between our characters, and apart from the really stupid ending, it works considerably well, even though the actual story of Louis XIV isn't really the story they're telling here. Even though the movie does have, you know, bits and pieces of things that actually have happened. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much. For the king, for the land, for the mountains, for the green valleys where dragons fly, for the glory, the power to win the Black Lord, I will search for the emerald sword.